So performance related transaction codes here. After the client copies and RFC administration, we have some transaction codes, day-to-day usage transaction codes are there. So those things we will discuss, then immediately we will jump into the SAP kernel upgrades, transport management, those things we will jump into there. Okay. So what is this performance related transaction codes here? How it will be useful here, right? So performance means system performance, how the system is behaving, so how the system is responding. These are the some performance related things here. So what is the response time? So here the first transaction, it will come as part of the performance related transaction code. ST01 is like a system trace. ST02 is like a workload analysis. Sorry, tune summary. ST02 like a tune summary. Here we can see the buffers, swaps, swaps. So hit ratio, hit ratio, and the memory areas we can see it here. Memory areas we can see it here, right? So here ST01 is for the system trace. So if you go to the ST01, normally you are checking in the SM21, ST22 system traces. There is not enough logs to investigate it here. You need to specially, you want to enable the trace to find out the issue and everything. You want to specially enable the traces here. So then in this case, what we can do, what we can do here, we can enable the trace, whatever the trace we want to enable it, RFC trace, HTTP trace, log operations, kernel, authorization check, whatever the trace we want to, whatever the trace we want to activate it, we can activate the trace on, and so that will be collected the traces, logs will be collected. So that will collect the logs, okay, in the back end. So you can reproduce the issue, the logs will be collected. After that, you can turn off the traces, then you can do the analysis of the traces and everything. You can do the analysis so that the logs will be collected. The logs will be collected so that we can do the analysis here. We can do the analysis of the traces and everything. It will be collected here. So zero logs. Why? Because only some fraction of min seconds we enabled it. That's why zero logs. So in case of suppose user is facing authorization issue, kernel issues, any one of the issue, RFC issues, so HTTP calls, HTTP issues, DB access issues, then here we can check the trace logs here. We can enable the trace, we can select all, then we can enable the trace. So just if you keep wait for some time, then the logs will be collected in the system. The logs will be collected. So trace is on, which means the backend. So whatever the users facing the issue, authorization error, some kernel errors, DB access issues, anything that will be collected in the backend, that will be collected in the backend here, that will be collected in the backend here, right? So then we can just turn off the trace here. After that, once you got the other turn off the trace here, then we can do the display the analysis here. We can display the trace here so that the logs will be generated here. The logs will everything will be generated. We can find out the error will be displayed here, so we can find out the solution, what is exactly happening. So that is what we can take the traces, additional traces. So normally only exceptional cases, not the daily we will use this ST01, only exceptional cases we will go to the ST01 transaction code. So means suppose in a system will generate the many logs, right? ST22 dumps will be generated, SM21 logs. So we can check it out. But those logs are not giving the enough information to you. So, but in that case, the special traces we can enable it. Then we can ask them to reproduce the issue. The error will come. That error will be reported here. Then we can switch off the trace and we can do the analysis. So this kind of things we can perform it in the ST01 trace. So ST01 trace here. So that is the ST01. ST02 is for the tune summary. This is a kind of a important transaction codes related to the system performance. Here we can see the buffers. These are the buffers. In our SAP system, we have n number of buffers are there. In SAP system, we have n number of buffers are there. So those buffers we can see it here. Buffers means some kind of temporary storage areas, which means containers, bowls, so buckets, about like buckets. So buffers means buckets in our home. What the buckets? In the buckets, we can store the some water, some data, right? Some water we can store it, right? Same as like here. So here also we can store the some data here. Always we can't go ahead go and so pull the water from the contain from main water tank, right? So temporarily we will store the some water in the buckets. So that is the main thing here. So here also SAP, the frequently accessed data means who are the users, the frequently some data will be accessed. The accessed data we can access from the buffers instead of directly going to the system. So we can access it here. Here main thing is here hit ratio. What is the hit ratio of the each and every buffer? Always it should be 95 plus or 99. So above only 99% above only the hit ratio. Why? Because normally how the buffers will be helpful here. Let me explain it here. So this is the front end. Here it is the SAP. This is the DB, right? As I mentioned here, buffers are in the SAP level only. It will contains in the SAP level. It's a temporary some storage areas. We have the some number of buffers are there. One is the foreground buffer, CA buffer, calendar buffer, so initial records buffer. So there are the types of buffers are there. It will foreground buffer means all the foregrounds will store in the foreground buffer. Calendar buffer, all the so calendars related things, all the screens related. So like that, each and everything, name tab buffer, foreground buffer, CA buffer, calendar buffer, OTR buffers. So there are the buffers are there. Each buffer, there is a allocated size is there. How much free is there? Percentage of the free. So everything is there here, right? But hit ratio, mainly we need to think about the hit ratio. Hit ratio here. Mainly we need to think about the hit ratio here. Hit ratio means how many requests. So which means what will happen whenever any request comes, first SAP from front end GUI to front end, it will go and check in the buffers, any one of the buffer. The buffer data is not exist here, then it will go to the database level. It will pull the data from the database level. Then it will store the one copy of data in the buffer and same will be displayed to the user. So, which means whatever this user is using, suppose like some sales related transaction code, then that will be stored into the data, the buffers. So what exactly happens? Some other user also using the same transaction code, then it will grab the data from the system, then immediately it will give the response back to the user. It's no need to go to the database level. So why? Because we are saving the time from SAP here to here, the requests are not going. Why? Because already data exists in the buffers. So data exists in the buffer. It's not going to the, so it's not going to the buffers data. So database level, just taking the data from the buffers here. That's why sometimes when you execute the transaction code, it will take some time. Sometimes if you execute it, it will be very fast. Why? Because but sometimes what happens whenever you do the restart, after the restart, system will be slow. But after some time, if you have access the transaction, it will be very smooth. Why? Because the buffers filled with the frequently accessed data here. Instead of going to the here, taking the data from the database level, it will take the data from the buffers. Then if the buffer data is not existing in the buffer, that time it will take time to go to database level, pull the data, then give the response back to the users here. That is that happens here. So that is the main aim of the builder. Each bucket, there is a quantity, right? There is a quantity here, some amount of quantity. In that bucket, we will store the water. Here, we will store the some data. Data will be stored automatically, right? So these buffers have, suppose like see here, it ratio. Out of 100 requests, how many requests are going to the database level pulling the data? As per SAP recommendation, the system performance good or bad, we need to check. It should be 95 plus. All the buffers should be 95 plus, which means then only your system performance is very, very, very good. Otherwise, it's very bad here. Very bad here. So that is what we need to check in the buffers utilizations here, right? So here 99, almost all the requests are going to the buffers only. Only one or two should be going to the database level, pulling the data. Sir, how can I test it here, right? So suppose let's try to access the one of the transaction code called the sales related PA30. Okay, sales related, right? How much time it's taken for getting the data? 1860 milliseconds response time, right? Now how much time I taken? 672 milliseconds. See? So the both simultaneously you accessed it. Both the cases, the response time got changed. Both the cases, the response time got changed. Which means what happened? Which means same data, same T code you accessed from the system differently. Same you accessed from the system same you accessed multiple times. That's why the response time got changed here. The response time got changed here. Suppose one of the long running VL08, VL02. Let's see here how much time it will take. See here, it is buffering. Buffering means it is not there in the buffers database level. That's why it's buffering. So see 14,000 milliseconds. So to get the response of this transaction code, 14,000 milliseconds it's taken, right? So same transaction code I will access again. Let's see how much time take here. See, immediately we got the results. See the differences here, 110 milliseconds, which means data exists. Buffers data exist here. So that is the reason first time, if you are using the new transaction code, that will take time. But remaining and all, why? Because normally day to day we will use the ST22. We got the immediate results here. There's a lot of dumps here, spool errors. SM21, you see immediate results we are getting. Why? Because regularly we are using these transactions, right? So, but VL02, VL02, we are not using regularly. But today we used it. That's why we got the immediate response time here. We are getting the immediate responses. Because of so the data storing it buffers, the data storing it buffers here. So the data storing it buffers, that's why. So the buffer quantity, the allocation will be increased here sometimes. Here we may get it out. Sometime swaps we will get it out. Swaps, sir, you mentioned like buffers have some and some amount of memory will be allocated. Sir, is there any cases the buffers will full, right? Buffers will full. Yeah, some cases the suppose here see only 586 KB got allocated. So here 119 MB free only, right? 3%, 20% only free. So what happens are if this is also filled means the swaps will occur, means overflow happen. Under the tap, the bucket is full, what happen? The water overflow will happen, right? Same way, overflow is called the swaps. Whenever swaps are occurring means the buffers are filling. The buffers don't have the enough space here. Then what we have to do? We may have to increase the buffer value. The value quantity we have to increase it. So the bucket capacity 15 liters. The 15 liters got filled up with the data. Then what will happen? It will be the new data will overflow. So nothing will happen. No new data will be overflow. So in this case, either we may have to increase the bucket quantity, bucket size, or either we need to delete the old data. So deletion of the old data is not possible. Why? Because it's a developers to do that one, which object, which data. It's not our responsibility. But we may have to increase the size. Here we can go to the current parameters here. We can see so each buffer, suppose like foreground buffer. What is the foreground buffer parameter name? What is the value? So what is so each and every buffer, there is a value here. You can see there is a value here. So respective buffer parameter value, if you increase it, that where you to increase it here in the RG10, RZ11, RZ10, you can increase that buffer parameter value. You can increase it here, right? In this way, we can increase the quantity of the buckets and everything. We can increase it here. So here we can directly go to the RG10, change the collection, check the parameter value. We can increase it here, right? So that is the here. So we can also check are there any swaps? Suppose like foreground buffer. Foreground buffer, we can check the history also here. In the last days, 25th, 26th, any swaps are occurring or not here. What is the utilization? See, every day the utilization is getting increased, right? So the utilization is getting increased here. So yesterday we done the restarts. Then after the restart, again it got increased. Why? Because so we are using that system. So it is increasing. It is increasing here. So sometimes we may see the swaps here, overflow. Swaps, we may get it out. So let's see swaps in other systems here. Yeah, here also no swaps here. So all are good. Why? Because the system frequently being used by us only. So that's why the buffer swaps also good. So no issues. So history we can check it out here, right? So history we can check it out here. The mainly thing is, so we should ensure every day this value there should not come red, right? Overflow, the values will come here. If you observe after some days, the values will come here, the swap values. 1, 2, 3, 4 means 3 means 3 overflows. 4 means 4 overflows, which means overflow is happening, which means so space, there are some space issues here. So which means this parameter only 5 KB means 5 GB. Then we can increase to the 6 GB. Like that, we can increase it here. So that's what we have to take the action. Sir, what is the parameter means? We go to the current parameter value, we can check it out here. So we can also check the detailed analysis of the each and every buffer, program buffer. So same buffer wise, individually, we can check the similar status here. What are the objects are there here in the bucket? What are the data is there? What are the objects are there here? You can see the objects are displayed here. So this object level, they will take care of. The buffers are coming or not, we need to check every day. So if nothing is coming, then we are good. So we can increase it. If they want us to increase the thing, we can also increase it here. This is the buffers related thing here, buffers, right? So here also we can see the memory areas here. There is a separate topic for memory. I will tell you that time, but here you can see memory areas. In SAP, there are the 3 memory areas here. So page area, extended memory, heap memory here, right? So what is the current usage here? What is the current KB? What is the maximum in memory? How much is using? So all the information, hit ratio, right? 100%, 100%, good, perfect. So like that, we can see the memory areas here, right? So currently used percentage, if something goes to the 90 percentage, then memory is very less. So memory is very less here. So like that, we can check the system for daily basis. We have to go to the ST02, see the status of the swaps and everything here. See the status of the swaps, and swaps are not coming. And is there any memory which is coming to 90%, more than 90 plus or 95 plus, then immediately we need to take the action. Action means either what is currently being used here, or is there any buffer which is coming to the, so which is coming to the here, we can check it out here. The buffers are the very important, entire, it will influences the entire system performance here. Suppose if I go with the one more example, MyGo. So these are the functional related transaction code. It will take very longer time here, right? See here, it is still pulling the data from the database level. See how much time it's taken. Oh, 93 milliseconds. No, it's wrong. So it's taken some time, right? So then again, if you execute the same transaction code, it will give the immediate results here, right? So which means, so data is fetching, but how faster we are getting the response from the system is, that is the main important thing here, right? If buffers, all the buffers are going 90 plus percentage, sorry, 90, 95 percentage, then we can see the swaps here. The swaps are occurring here. That's, we can check it out here. Okay, that is the main thing here. So got it? Any questions here? This transaction code?
Ravi sir, suppose swaps is getting red color actually. So
Yeah, yeah. So we
uh,
have to plan. We have to. So if the swaps are coming regular per day, 10,000 swaps are allowed. The number is here 0 to 10,000 is allowed, so that we can ignore it. If you coming 20,000, 21,000 means 21,000 swaps are occurring, means overflow is happening. Then that time we have to make a call. We have to observe the trend history. All daily we are getting here. Then we can send this screenshot to the customer. So for to prove that, so our buffers are suffering lack of memory, we can increase it. We can increase it. The customer tell you, instead of increasing, is there any possibility to do the cleanup, right? Is there any possibility to do the cleanup? So it's cleanup, right? Then you have to inform to the your developers. Developer will take care, so which object they can do. These all are the objects which are storing in the buffers. So they can check. Sir, here we don't have any custom code. This the objects are on the standard thing. There is no possibilities of the doing the cleaning and everything. Then the final option is here. We need to increase the some value. Suppose like you go to the current parameter, what is the buffer size? This is the one. Then you can select it. You can go to the profile parameters. Then you can change the value of this parameter to something like that. Then that will be changed. That will be, we can change it so that the value, the space will be increased, the buffers will come to the zero status again. So that is what we have to do that one. Normally when we do the kernel upgrade, buffers will change it automatically, but sometimes what happens, you are not doing any maintenance activities, long back you've done the kernel upgrade, so that time, so we may have to look at out the, so this parameter recommendations and everything. Okay, so okay, I can stop it here for today. Just having some infection, food infection.